Being in crypto and being in Cardano specifically is like being on a really bumpy ride. It's like you're on a rugged mountain trail and you had to stick it in four-wheel drive a long time ago. The trail is rutted, it's full of big rocks, and you don't know what might appear around any given corner. There might be fallen trees, there might be landslides, heavy rains might have washed out the trail. But if you're in a good, reliable vehicle that won't break down on you, you know you'll be fine. That's like being in Cardano. You come around a turn and there's a campaign of deliberate misinformation. It's going to be fine. Fallout from Luna and 3AC is still wrecking centralized platforms. No problem. Going to be fine. The project you thought was an altruistic, selfless white hat might have demanded money to save the day. Gonna be fine. The looming threat of quantum computing might materialize one day to crack all the chains. No problem. We got this. Cardano just keeps powering up the trail. Ready? Let's go. Today, we're going to discuss some suspicious misinformation being proliferated about Vossel, Voyager filing for Chapter 11, NIST announcing its first 4 quantum-resistant algorithms, some possible surprising additional information related to the detection of the Minswap vulnerability, and more progress from Pavia on their builder tool. If your dating process involves telling your dates you just want to take them on a mountain drive and then having to promise there will be 0 axe murdering, or if you're finding value in these videos each weekday, please consider delegating to the Army of Spies stake pool, ticker AOS. Well, guys, look at this. A maximalist of at least one other blockchain, he even calls himself maximalist right in his Twitter name, says most Cardano smart contracts are, I think he means are, incompatible with the new update Vossel and will have to be rewritten. Can't make this up. Of course, we all know this is a twisting of the facts. Tim Harrison responded, current dApps built using Plutus V1 will be compatible after the Vossel upgrade, and all will benefit from pipelining network upgrade. Developers wishing to take full advantage of Plutus V2 features after the upgrade will need to use them in their dApps. Welcome to software. You know, it's kind of hard to imagine that this isn't intentional misinformation, but it's like, what have you got to lose? When you think about the risk calculus for a person like this, if they're going to spread deliberate misinformation, is there really any downside to it? There's not really any social responsibility on Twitter. If the blockchain you're attempting to, propagandize against, in this case, Cardano, if that blockchain calls you out for your misinformation, I mean, your actual audience, which is probably the members of the ecosystem of the blockchain you like, probably aren't even going to see it. Like, what are the chances that all the people in his community are going to see this response from Tim Harrison? Probably not, because they're probably following all the people in their community. So he can reach out, and probably only the people in his community or whoever follows him is going to see this. But because of the echo chambers inherent in social media, there's not really any risk. Even if he gets called out later for, deliberate misinformation or misconstruing the facts, that kind of thing, there's not really any repercussion to it. Well, all of that is just an unfortunate reality on social media. The great thing is Cardano just keeps trucking up the trail, because this is only the millionth time that this has happened. And Cardano just continues on as a top 10 blockchain that only gets better, while a lot of other chains just sort of linger in obscurity. How about events that actually are happening? Voyager is filing for Chapter 11, reportedly due to its exposure to 3AC. Like a lot of centralized crypto platforms right now, exposure to 3AC is leading to a lot of failures. So, unfortunately, probably even some people listening to this podcast or watching this video probably even people who are a part of the army of spies may have deposited money in Voyager. For those people, you've already learned this lesson, so you don't need to listen to the next part. But for everybody else, do not deposit your money in lobster traps. We've talked about this a million times. No matter what, no matter how good the return is, when you give up custody of your funds, things like this can happen. When you give somebody else your money, maybe they don't know what they're doing. Maybe they are degens doing all the degen DeFi stuff that the worst of us are doing personally. Maybe they're just doing that with your money, and that's how they can offer those gigantic returns. Or maybe they're not degens at all. Maybe they just make a mistake. They become involved with somebody else who's doing all the degen stuff. I think we all know that in the name of interoperability, crypto is very intertwined, maybe pejoratively, you could say, sort of incestuous. Everybody's sort of got funds or liabilities or deposits with everybody else, at least in the EVM world. That's how it's worked. And when one entity like Three Arrows Capital fails, that means a whole bunch of other entities are going to fail. So the next time you see that tasty, delicious, super high yield, whatever it is, whether for you that's 9%, 12%, 19%, you have to ask yourself, no matter how many other people are doing it, is there a chance these guys are going to be doing something risky with my money, which might lead to their failure, or that they're doing something else with somebody else who's doing something very risky with a bunch of other people's monies? Because that's how these kind of things happen. While a lot of individuals out there are probably hurting today because they can't withdraw from Voyager and they see what's happening, Cardano, again, gonna be fine. Just keeps on trucking up the trail. What about the ultimate boogeyman? For years, since the very start of crypto, almost, since I've been in crypto for sure, since that 2013, 2014 period, we've always had to deal with the ultimate rebuttal to crypto, and that's quantum computing. I swear I've been at parties with cocktail in hand, and the topic of crypto came up, and dudes who I would swear couldn't actually read, like they might actually be illiterate, like toothless guys who I assume know that little about cryptography or computer science or anything at all related to crypto, somehow they would have heard about this. And the conversation would go like this: you like that crypto, man? One day I'm going to get one of those quantum computers. I'm going to come in there and take all your Bitcoin ducats. How you like that? How you like your crypto now? And I'm like standing there amazed that this person has heard about quantum computing, but somehow somebody's told them, don't get into crypto, quantum computing. That's all they know. Quantum computing. It's going to wreck crypto. Here we have NIST with an important announcement. NIST, which is the U.S. Department of Commerce's National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST, they are announcing they have chosen the first group of encryption tools that are designed to withstand the assault of a future quantum computer. So this has been going on for, I think this contest has been going on for, has it been 6 years? I think the contest has been going on for 6 years, or it's a 6-year total contest. And oh yeah, right here, the announcement follows a 6-year effort managed by NIST, which in 2016 called upon the world's cryptographers to devise and then vet encryption methods that could resist an attack from a future quantum computer. And they've now chosen 4 quantum resistant algorithms. They say the 4 selected encryption algorithms will become part of NIST's post-quantum cryptographic standard, expected to be finalized in about 2 years. Not only that, they've got 4 more under consideration. They say 4 additional algorithms are under consideration for inclusion in the standard, and NIST plans to announce the finalists from that round at a future date. This is pretty consistent with what Charles has always said about how Cardano is going to deal with quantum computing. This topic has come up before in his AMAs quite some time ago, the last time I remember it. And he said pretty much this. He was like, hey, this is technology, and technology evolves, and we're going to come up with quantum resistant algorithms, and we'll just shift to those algorithms when quantum computing actually becomes a big risk. And here we are. NIST is letting us know they not only have already selected 4 algorithms which are quantum resistant, but they've got 4 more right behind those that they think will be good for us to use in a quantum computing era. So the next time you're at a party and some toothless illiterate starts telling you about how they're going to build a quantum computer in their mom's trailer basement, you can tell them NIST has already got that under control. Cardano and the rest of crypto will be just fine. Hey, listen, if you look like Brad Pitt and you live in a trailer or caravan basement, there's no need for us to fist fight over this. You don't need to send me angry DMs on Twitter. We're just making jokes here. For the record, I am also aware that trailers generally do not have basements. I have to say that, otherwise people will actually comment on it, but I am aware. Okay, on to a somewhat more serious topic. We're going to be reading some tweets here from other people. I'm not presenting any of this as fact. These are reports that are circulating. So none of this is being presented by me as fact. I'm just reading what other people are reporting, whether it's true or not. So this started out with this post commenting on this infographic that apparently had been shared by someone, and it's pretty complimentary of the Wingriders deck's key differentiators, and then for every other dex besides Minswap, it just shows nothing innovative. So this thread seems to have started out on that topic. Someone responded, well, they're competitive and intent on driving the Cardano ecosystem forward. They also seem to be very interested in the greater good of the ecosystem, as evidenced by their help in identifying the Minswap bug early on. How about some good vibes? And of course, most of us, I think, probably remember that. It seems that Wingriders identified the Minswap bug, and somehow they made Minswap aware of that. And we were all like, this is so great. They saved a lot of people a lot of money. If this bug had been exploited, a lot of people would have lost money. It's so great that Wingriders did that for one of their competitors. We even talked about it on this channel. But then this response to that comment popped up. Cardano Insider said, I heard that Wingriders wanted a ransom from Minswap or else they wouldn't share the vulnerability. So they don't appear to be as big of a saints as they claim to be. Word on the street also has it that they sold the bounty right away equals price dump. Again, I'm just reading a tweet from someone else. I don't know if this is true. Cardano Insider says, hey, and then they are sort of copying these two accounts at XYCONST and at MinswapDex. Can you confirm my information? And then this poster at XYCONST, who describes himself in their profile as Schiller at MinswapDex, they came on and said, hey, I just replayed the space. For transparency to the community, the address is correct. Our team didn't offer any bounty. The team at WR, I'm assuming that means Wingriders, the team at WR didn't want to share the vulnerability until we agree on a bounty. No NDA signed. The amount was undisclosed as WR team didn't want to. Reactions to this were mixed. This poster said, thought they were Batman, but turns out they're more like the Joker. The response, so you don't think Minswap should have had to pay out? WR did still help the community and Minswap by finding the flaw and were rightfully compensated. Others said, not great. Stick with Pride made the observation that part was left out of the WR side of the story, and they link to this Medium article, looks like from Wingriders, with the highlighted section here. It took us a couple of nerve-wracking hours to get in direct verified contact with the founders, where we responsibly disclosed the vulnerability to them and offered guidance to stop the imminent threat and protect the funds ASAP with a first step of stopping the platform. And the next sentence begins, as ourselves being community-centric. This poster said, but I found the transaction if anyone wants to see part 1 of what the Wingriders team got. And they post a link to Cardano Scan, followed by this transaction to Wingriders with another link to Cardano Scan. So at this point, we don't have a lot of details. These could be bounties being paid, or these could be completely unrelated transactions. We just don't know at this point. But the transactions that were linked there, it looks like they involve an output of 1.25 million min tokens and 1.25 min T tokens. 1.25 million, that is. Here's the second linked transaction, and it looks like it involves an output of 4.25 million min tokens and 4.25 min T tokens. Somebody can go ahead and correct me if I'm misreading these UTXOs somehow. At this point, we don't really know how much of this is true or accurate, and we probably won't know until and if Wingriders responds to all this. But I think it's safe to say that this may not have been the way this was handled may not have been the best PR move. I think right at the start, if Wingriders would have come out in their sort of description of what happened, if they would have come out and said, hey, we discovered this vulnerability, we took it to Minswap, and Minswap compensated us for finding the discovery, I don't think anybody would have batted an eye at that. We would have all said, oh, good for Wingriders. I mean, I think we all realize that the people behind projects in Cardano are trying to make money just like everybody else. The team behind Wingriders is trying to make money. Team behind Minswap is trying to make money. And in this case, we would have said, hey, good for Wingriders. They made some money due to this discovery. And in the process, they probably saved a bunch of Minswap customers a bunch of money too, because they may have prevented a big exploit from happening. Finally, looks like Pavia is making some progress on their builder tool. They say, our first tutorial for the early access scene builder tool is now on YouTube. We will shortly be rolling the tool out to the second cohort of testers for feedback. It is only low poly assets for now, but has the option to import assets and share scenes. Down here in the image, you can see a nice arcade machine kind of in the corner of a room here with some options for different colored couches, different materials, all that kind of stuff over here on the left. I think this post, though, highlights an interesting theme that's sort of emerging, not just in Cardano metaverses, but kind of across the crypto space. So there's this spectrum. All of these crypto projects, on one end of the spectrum, they could build out arbitrarily complex builder tools, or sort of adopt and maybe whitelist builder tools for assets like these that already exist that could be of arbitrary complexity. They could be as complicated as you want. On the other end of the spectrum, a metaverse project might choose just to have set options like, hey, there's 6 buildings you can have in this virtual world. Pick one. It's a one-click experience, and it's just going to pop up on your property. You don't get to choose anything. I think all the projects are going to land somewhere on this spectrum, and I'm kind of hoping they all sort of congregate around a middle road where you sort of have both options, where you have the builder tools and you also have some set options. Because I think if you just have a builder tool and it has any degree of a learning curve to it, the risky run is sort of what I at least observed in Decentraland for years. And that's that every time I went into Decentraland for years, there were a lot of barren parcels. People owned the parcels. They were all owned by somebody, but either the learning curve to figure out how to build something there was too great, or the will was not there to actually build something. Like there's always going to be investors in all these projects who don't care at all, and they're never going to build anything. But definitely, if it's too complicated to build things on your parcel, a lot of people aren't going to do it, and you're going to have a lot of vacant lots in your metaverse project. On the other end of the spectrum, if you have too few options for people to choose from, if you have that one-click experience where you just kind of like choose a building, and out of these 6 or 12 or whatever, and they just sort of pop up on your property, you definitely run the risk of your metaverse not being very interesting. If the same buildings show up over and over again and they're not very different, you lose out on your metaverse project being interesting. It definitely won't have that eclectic feel where it's obvious that everybody built their own thing on their parcel. It might look a little boring and vanilla if you're on that end of the spectrum. I'm hoping everybody kind of congregates around the middle and they sort of have both options. So the people who don't want anything to do with learning these builder tools can just click a button and have a building appear. And the people who want to spend hours and hours and hours picking out the color of couches that might be inside of their building can do that too. But it'll be interesting to watch this all go down in Cardano. I hope you're having a great week, and I will talk to you tomorrow.